Boom shakalaka. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending our Toolkit Tuesday. This morning we have Kaz, and he is the Technology Training Manager at the Florida Association of Realtors. That's all I have, Kaz. I'm sure there's more that you do, but that's all I got.
All right. Well, I can go ahead and I'll cut down on my 30-minute introduction to a couple of minutes. Okay, not even that. All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen already, so that way we can at least see what we're going to be working with. My name is Kaz Chasovsky. I am the Florida Realtors Technology Training Manager, and I've been in the industry for over 35 years. Most recently, having been with Form Simplicity as their trainer for 6 years. I also was a realtor for 7 years. Did have my own real estate business, but I always wanted to go back into training. And once this position became available, I decided that this would be, something that I can provide. And I'm very passionate about the Form Simplicity program. And so therefore, we're going to show you how I used to use it and how I optimized my workflow using the Form Simplicity program. Now, when I say optimize, it means everything that is available to you. Now, depending on what level of the Form Simplicity you have, because there's different levels of Form Simplicity. We have what we call the starter edition. We also have the professional edition, and we also have the ultimate edition, which means it's got the bells and whistles. The way I'm going to be approaching this session here is with all the bells and whistles, because when I was a former realtor, I had the Form Simplicity Plus, I had the e-sign program, as well as the unlimited storage. So if you're following along with me and you're saying, hey, Kaz, some of this stuff isn't coming up on my screen, that's because I actually am using the Form Simplicity Ultimate Edition. And also I'm going to do here is, if you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the chat. And that way I can go ahead and answer those questions as we need to. So let's go ahead and get out of my PowerPoint. And let me go back to my new share. And we are going to go into Form Simplicity. So as you can see here, Form Simplicity is essentially what you're going to see. This is the new home screen. If anybody here has never worked with Form Simplicity, we've gone through a metamorphosis here over the past year and a half or so, maybe even 2 years. And I feel that this new Form Simplicity version, what I call 2.0, is basically going to be, to you, less clickish. So what you're going to be seeing here, and I'm going to be showing you, I know I have about an hour, so we're going to be kind of going through a lot of changes that Form Simplicity has gone through, and new features that have been added. So we're going to do a workflow, optimize your workflow, at the same time showing you some new features that you need to be aware of. Also, what I'm going to provide you all too is that if you do not have the Ultimate Edition, which includes unlimited e-signs and unlimited storage, I will provide you with a $20 promo code, which I haven't activated it yet. I will activate it after this webinar is over, where you can save $20 off the annual fee of $99. So your first year is going to be $79 to have the whole thing I'm showing you here today. So the first thing I want to point out to you is I don't know how you all log in through your to get into Form Simplicity. So I'm assuming you go through your website or you go through your MLS program to access Form Simplicity. So however way you get into Form Simplicity, this is the screen that you're going to be seeing here. One thing I do want to point out here is that if you notice that there's a number 5 over here next in the upper right hand corner of the notifications link here, that's just letting you know that if you see that number 5, it's the same kind of look that you would find on your smartphone, meaning you missed 5 phone calls. Here you missed 5 notifications. So all you got to do is click on the notifications button right here, and it's going to tell you that we have a new feature enhancement, which is pertaining to the task and task template, which I'll talk about a little bit later on in this hour. And then you have other things that you can kind of read through it here as well. So that's something that you want to go ahead and take a look at and note if there's any new notifications that's coming from Form Simplicity. After that, that number will go ahead and disappear. What I also like to mention here too, because my goal as a trainer here in Florida, as well as wherever else I teach Form Simplicity, is to have you work smarter and not harder in Form Simplicity. That's the main focus of all of my sessions that I teach here. So the first thing I would suggest that you all do is to go right over here in the upper right-hand corner and click on your preferences. And when you click on your preferences, these are the, at least on my screen here and on your screen, you see these 5 panels. Now, some of us who might be following along on your own computer or laptop or iPad, you may not see all 4 of these. You only may see, I'm sorry, 5 of these. You only may see only 4 of these. And the reason for that is that for those of us who do not have the eSign program, you will not see the eSign preferences and templates panel. In order for that to appear, you need to have the Ultimate Edition to access eSigns. But what I want to go ahead and point out to you is a couple of things. In this preferences screen, I would suggest that you go into your general settings. And in your general settings, you want to do 2 things. See here. Here, notice that my time zone is showing Eastern time zone. Now, you all, I believe, are in the Central time zone. So then all you want to go ahead and do is click on the time zone and select Central. Because this way, when you select the time zone as being Central, that means that everything that you do in a transaction, and then you go through the entire history, and then you go through eSign, it will all be set up under the, and it will be time stamped and date stamped in the Central time zone, which is what you want, right? You don't want it to be time stamped in the Eastern time zone. So that is a new enhanced feature that we have included over the past, I'm going to say the last 6 months. But most importantly, I would suggest that you go ahead and put in your email signature here, which is your contact information that automatically appears at the end of any email programs that you send, emails that you send out. Because notice it's, if you put that in here and it's a customized text email, you want to go ahead and make sure that you put it in here so that way it will appear in these 3 features. And of course, most importantly, if you're an eSign user, it will automatically appear in step number 1 of your eSign session that you're creating with your customer. I found this to be a very efficient tool right here because I didn't have to worry about entering in my contact information every time I started an eSign session. Once you fill all of this information in, just remember to click on the Save Changes button here, and here you'll be successfully saving your settings. You're going to be seeing this throughout the whole entire Form Simplicity program, where Form Simplicity is going to be confirming everything that you've done and saved. It will automatically confirm that that has occurred. Keep in mind, this is just a customized text email signature, no logos and no pictures of yourself at this time. Now, there is talk about adding that, but that's going to be a little bit later on this year. Then I close this panel by collapsing it. But another section I would suggest that you all go to is the email notifications. I know when I was a realtor, there was a real estate program that worked with my listings from MLS. It was a third-party program. And I always wanted to get notified when the member of the general public touched my listing on my website. So I always got some sort of email notifications from that program. Well, guess what? We all have, excuse me a second. We all have one of these gadgets here, right? We have a smartphone. So what you're going to do is, why not go ahead and receive these certain types of notifications right here? Because this way you can get notified where a task is due, so you'll get that email reminder. And the way to have these in the send position is by just clicking on these sliders. And when you click on these sliders, it will automatically have it go off or be sending. So it's either going to send or it's going to go off. It doesn't matter which way you want. But I would suggest, and this is just me, to select these 5. When a task is due, I'm going to get an email reminder that a specific task is due, like a inspection. You may have it due in a couple of days. So you want to get that reminder saying, hey, in a couple of days, you have an inspection that is due. Hop on it, Kaz, kind of thing. Okay. And then, of course, I don't know if anybody still receives faxes anymore today, but in case you do, you may have those stragglers. Maybe you may have a customer, her name might be Pterodactyl, so she's still a dinosaur, so she still might be faxing you here stuff here. And then, of course, you can send them, when you receive an email message or an attachment, you can get those types of notifications. And the nice thing about Form Simplicity is that it has a very smooth and efficient broker transaction management program, which is included in the professional and ultimate edition. It doesn't, it will not appear in your starter edition, excuse me. I keep saying position. I meant edition. And so therefore, what this does is this particular feature helps you to go paperless in your office. And you don't have to worry about paying anything extra than what's in the professional and ultimate edition. And of course, you can always put in an alternate email address so you can have it notified. So that way, if you don't want it to go to this email address, then you can put an alternate one over here. Another thing I want to talk about here is security settings. Form Simplicity is already secured, but if you want it even more secured, you can set up a two-factor authentication. For those of us out there that have iCloud, like an iCloud.com website, you have an option through Apple to have a two-factor authentication set up. So if you wanted to do that, you can have it set up either via a phone verification where you would type in a phone number and then you'll just be getting a text to get into the program, or you can actually go ahead and have it sent to you via email by typing in the email address. Me personally, I would go ahead and do the phone one because that way you'll get the code directly onto your phone. You type that code into your Form Simplicity when it pops up with that window, and then at that point you'll have an extra layer of security. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in the preferences section. What I also want to talk about here too is the contacts. When I was a realtor, I would put in contacts into Form Simplicity. Why? So that way I can insert them into a transaction. You can add your buyers, you can add your sellers. If you have a cooperative agent that you've been working with, so you can a cooperating broker, then put that person's name in, even put yourself in as a contact. So the way to put your contacts in is one of three ways, and we're going to show you the first two ways right now. And we're going to go ahead and click on add a contact. And all you have to do is fill in the person's first name and last name to activate the create contact button. So let's say that we're going to go ahead and put in here Winnie Panini. Okay, so that's the contact that I have. And then as soon as I put that last name in, create contact is active. If you're not going to put anything else in here, I would suggest at least put one thing in here, and that is their email address, because the email address is the key to transition from Form Simplicity into eSign. And also it's going to make your job a lot easier in case you need to send something to them via email if you're not an eSign user. So it's always good to put in that information. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my email address and then click on create contact. Before I do that, you can also put in where you got the lead of the source of your lead. Okay, so that could be a good thing because that way it's going to help you to allocate your marketing dollars appropriately. If you're advertising in a newspaper ad where nobody's reading the newspaper and you're wondering why you're not getting any leads and you're getting more leads from someplace else, I would then make that decision as to where to allocate those additional marketing dollars. That's just my thought process. Then I'm going to go ahead and click on the create contact button, and then Form Simplicity is going to go ahead and confirm that your contact has been added. So if you have nothing to do this coming weekend, this Friday night, you got no plans, you don't have a date or anything like that, you can always sit here and add contacts as you need to. However, We can also add contacts by importing those contacts as well. We can click on import. So you click on contacts, and you can also add a new contact here, but you can also import your contact. And these are your three sources that you can import from. You can import using your Gmail. And I know everybody here, probably 95 to 98% of us probably have a Gmail account of some kind. Some of us may be using Outlook, and some of us can also import our contacts from our portable devices. And then, so all you have to do is to click on, for the Gmail, sign in, click on continue. And sometimes you got to do it twice. I don't know why, but you got to do it twice. And then if you have multiple Gmail accounts, just make sure you can only do one account at a time. You're going to click on it. And then, of course, make sure you know your password to your Gmail account. Mine's automatically popping in there. Then I'm going to click on next. And at a moment's notice, here are your contacts. So now you can select all of the contacts, all 40 of them if you wanted to do that. Or if you want, you can go ahead and pick and choose the ones that you want. So let's say we're going to do this one, and this one here. And then click on import 4 contacts. And now those 4 contacts have now been imported. So that's how you can import contacts from your Gmail. Outlook is a little bit different because if you're all familiar with Outlook, the way to put in your contacts from Outlook is, first of all, you got to export your contacts first. That's how Microsoft works. There's nothing I can do about that. You always have to go ahead and export your contact and save it as a comma separate value. So we're going to go ahead and click on, once you go through the 9-step wizard, you're going to then browse for it on your computer. And I'm going to go ahead and type in the name of my CSV file that I exported from previous sessions. Click on the open and then import my contact. And now guess what? Same thing. I can select all 39 of them or 35 of them, or pick and choose the ones that I want. Okay. And then last but not least, I won't be able to show it to you here, but if you go ahead and essentially go ahead and use your portable devices, you can go ahead and do that as well. And now, of course, that you're going to connect to your computer and then locate your what we call V cards. And if you need help with any of these imports, you can contact your tech helpline, which I forgot to mention at the very beginning of this class. You all have a phone number that you can contact the tech helpline to answer any form simplicity questions. And that telephone number is 866-829-1434. And they are available to you Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time, and then Saturday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. So give them a call, and they will be very happy to assist you with any of these imports. My number two feature within Form Simplicity is creating a clause. Now, some offices may have created a clause already, but I found this to be a very handy feature, because creating a clause will allow you to save sentences, phrases, and the like. So all you have to do is, and the purpose of using a clause or creating a clause is so that when you create a transaction, you can insert them into your transaction. So if you click on create a new clause, there you have it. And if we have any brokers who are in the audience, you will see an extra prompt over here where it would say brokerage wide or personal. So all you have to do is to go ahead and type in the clause name. So let's say that the name of the clause, and we're going to go ahead and use your call letters of your association, and we're going to call this the wishful thinking buyer clause. I remember when I was a realtor, there were always buyers who are always wishful thinking, right? They always try to push the envelope, try to get as much as they can from the seller. And so therefore, I would create that type of clause. Now, before you even create a clause, always double check with your broker. And if not, check obviously with an attorney, because obviously you want to make sure that the clauses that you enter in here are legal to put into that particular form. So I'm just going to do a quick one sentence here. And I'm going to say that according to the wishful thinking buyer clause, that the seller will pay all closing costs and all prepaid items from the purchase price up to $5,000. Okay, so that's kind of the details of it. And then once you fill all of this information in, all you have to do is to go ahead and click on the Save New clause. So I just decided to just put one sentence, but that's what you would do at the end. And then after that, it's going to come up and say that the clauses have been added. Now, I know what you all are thinking. Where do I find the clauses? Well, I'm glad you all asked that question. So therefore, I'm going to click on blank forms, and then I see clauses right over here. And here, if your broker has created clauses, you'll see them appearing right over here. If not, then it'll probably look just like this, and then you'll just see your own set of personal clauses. Now, I want to point out that you have two columns here. One is preview column right here, and edit is over here. So if you wanted to preview a broker's clause, you can click on the preview there, or you can preview any of your own. Now, the only edit buttons that you see here will only be under my personal one, because under the broker, only the broker will have the ability to edit their own set of clauses, since they are the authors of their own clauses. Once they set that all up, and you can go ahead and view all of this, you can edit and preview your own clauses, and you can only preview the broker-wide clauses. If you wanted to delete a clause, you can do that by just clicking on this checkbox right here. Click on the delete, and it's going to ask you, are you sure? Absolutely. Click on the delete clause, and this allows you to clean up the clauses. I found this to be a very handy feature, which we'll show you in a moment how to insert that in. Once again, there's going to be certain things that I'm showing you here, and if you're following along with me, you might say, it may come to you and say, sorry, but you need to have this addition in order for you to activate that feature. So then that's where we're going to help you at the end of this session with this promo code. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, and that's just very briefly here, is to go into your forms library. And just when you click on blank forms, this is going to give you a list of all of the forms that you have in certain libraries. Now, all I have access to here is the Nebraska and Fannie Mae forms. Some of us may have forms programmed by their brokerage, so you may see an additional library here. And some of us might belong to another association, and therefore they may have another library here that may have form simplicity. So therefore, you may have that there as well. So all you have to do is to click on the panel to expand this panel to view all of your forms. And the nice thing about this is that if you're a brand new user, and of course, when I had to learn your lingo of the title of the forms, I had to get used to it, because what we call here certain things in Florida, you all don't call it the same thing there. So what I had to do in order to learn the forms is to search for the forms. And if you're a new member of the association, this might be a good thing for you. Or if you're a experienced agent as well, and you're still not familiar with some of these forms, this can also be a good thing for you here. And what I'm talking about is by just typing in a keyword of a form. So let's go ahead and type in listing. And if I click on listing, click on the search button, here it's going to give you everything that has the word listing in the title of the form and not in the content of the form. So here I had to get to know what kind of listing forms you all have, because we call in Florida exclusive right of sale listing agreement. Here we see exclusive listing agreement. So you can see the wording is a little bit different. And so therefore I had to get used to your lingo. Or if you wanted to locate the lead-based paint disclosure, I don't know if you have one in here or not, but we'll find out. And we're going to click on that search button. And wow, here we go. We got these two right here. See? So this helped me a lot when I had to prepare, not just for today, but even in past sessions that we did for your members last year and even the year before that. So this is something that is a handy tool to have. And then, of course, for those of us whom still may have dial-up at their offices, this might be a perfect feature for you. And what I'm referring to is this preview button here. So instead of opening up this form and waiting like 2 hours for that form to open up at your office, if you click on that preview button, you get to see it much quicker. And is this the form that you would like to use? And if so, just click on it to the side, and then you can open up that form at that time. And then, of course, we have the command line over here. This equals to these over here. So if you want to print, email, or download, here you have your printer, email, and download. So whatever you think you need to use to print or whatever, I don't think anybody here prints, but in case we do have somebody who's like to print forms, we have those commands here for you. The last feature I'm going to talk about before we do a transaction is my personal favorite feature. Actually, we're going to do two more features. I just remembered also. And that is to do a forms packages. Now, I don't know if anybody here still does this. I know when I used to work for a second brokerage in my office, we used to have paper forms, and paper forms in a folder with different labels, labeling what type of transaction, what type of property. I don't think anybody, does that today. If there are any, you don't have to raise your hand to say that I did. But what I'm going to suggest that you do is go ahead and create a forms package. So when you click on create a forms package, and of course, if you are a broker, this might be a good idea for you to create forms packages for your brokerage, but I'm in here as an agent, so you don't see it, but it'll say brokerage wide or personal. So let's say that I'm going to go ahead and create a residential. In fact, I'm going to use your call letters here. And so that way I can separate it from the ones I have already created. So we're going to call this the residential listing package. And then we're going to go ahead and click on create forms package. And now what you can see here is that we have an empty electronic folder. So now what do we have to do? We have to add blank forms. So if you want to add blank forms, it comes up with the blank forms library once again. You select your library. And then of course, you have the option to search for the forms. And you can also click on the preview button here so you can see what that form is before you actually make that selection. I found that very efficient. You don't have to worry about getting in and out of programs. That's what we used to do in the old version. But here, everything's all here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, and if I'm wrong in selecting it for this, I will be told this, but I'm just going to go ahead and just select a couple of things in here. This one here, we're going to do the lead-based paint disclosure, exclusive listing agreement. You should have a seller property disclosure form. And maybe if you wanted to add some other forms in here, you can go ahead and do that as you need to. I'm just going to go ahead and just select those forms there. If there's other ones, oh, here we go, addendum to list. Maybe that could be another good one here. But based on what you all have here, I'm just going to go ahead and select just these four. Once you've selected the forms, all you have to do is to click on the add to package, and here you have your forms. And then of course, if you have specific brokerage files, which are considered static, when we say that is that you can't fill anything in there, then you want to go ahead and just make a note that that's all you're going to be able to do is just to have it and include it as part of your transaction. But I'm going to go ahead and just show you how you can just upload a file. All you have to do on your computer is to hold the control key down and just click on whatever file you need to have included in here. And then once I do that, all I've got to do is to click on either the open button or hold that left clicker down, drag it on over here, let go, and there you have it. So you can do what we call the old drag and drop. This is a new feature in Form Simplicity that we've added in this particular version. If I made a mistake and I uploaded the wrong form, there's that little X to delete it. If I made this one a mistake, sure, I'm going to go ahead and do that too. But these are the two files I want to include. If these were a mistake also, you can go ahead and clear your files, start the whole process once again. But I'm going to keep this, click on the save files, and now my files have been successfully uploaded as well. So here I've got my forms and my files. If you have a certain way of doing your forms, because if you notice, the forms are here in alphabetical order. I want to have this listing agreement to be up in the first position. So you see over here, this is your sort button here. Now, for anybody here who's left-handed, I apologize, because if you notice, you only have a right-handed hand here. So you're going to have to be ambidextrous when it comes to sorting. So then all you have to do is click and then drag it up, and there you have it. Okay, and click and drag it in order you want to keep it in. And that way it's automatically going to save that information there. But we're not done yet, because what we can also do here too is I can go into the listing agreement, and you can also go in here and pre-fill your information so you don't have to fill it in while you're in a transaction. So let's see here. I'm going to move my Zoom people around. And so here I can go ahead and put in my my broker here. So we're going to go ahead and put in, and I'm going to put this in uppercase so it can kind of stand out better. Simplicity Real Estate Services. Okay, so that's, I can fill that information in there. And then of course I can fill in some of this other information like, let's see, what else? Compensation, there we go. So let's say that my compensation is going to be 20%. Okay, where my brokerage is a big time spender. Okay, so here we're going to put in 20%. And then of course you can actually put in the actual date within a certain expiration date if you want. You can put in 30 days. You can also, I don't see it here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, cooperation with other realtors. So here we're going to go ahead and say that we're going to do 10%. That's what we're going to do. So that's going to be the split here. And then of course, you're going to go through all of these and you can fill a lot of this stuff out here automatically. So here I can go ahead and type in Simplicity Real Estate Services. And then I can put my address. It's going to be 123 Cornhusker, because that's your mascot, right? The Cornhuskers, right? So we're going to go ahead and Cornhuskers Court. Okay, and then that's going to be in Lincoln, Nebraska, NE. I don't know the zip code there, but I'll just make believe that's your zip code there. And then my phone number, and then my email address, we're going to go ahead and put here as kazc@formsimplicity.com. And then after that, all I've got to do is click on that save button. And now you're ready to create a transaction because you got this all set up. You got your forms all set to go. Now it's just a matter of putting it together. Okay, now I don't know if I'm supposed to be asking questions or this is something that we're going to do at the end of the session.
Regarding, I think we're going to do it at the end, Kaz, if that's okay.
No, that's fine. Okay, I'll just keep on. I can keep on talking. I'm a runaway train at this moment here, so that's okay. We're good. Now, one more thing I want to talk about before we do a transaction, which I think is a brand new feature in Form Simplicity. This has been available as of about 2 months ago. You can actually create a task list template, which we never had before. When you created a transaction in Form Simplicity, you wanted to add tasks, you had that tedious task, no pun intended, of adding it manually every single time you created a transaction. Now, what you can go ahead and do is create a task list template where you can also apply to either a forms package or to a specific transaction criteria. Let's talk about that for a quick moment. Let's call this the seller's task. Okay, we can just call that. And if you want to auto apply it, you can apply it automatically to these two options. It says here you can select multiple options here. Let's say I'm going to add this to the template as part of my listing package, so that every time I create a transaction using that listing package, my task template will automatically appear there. That's a pretty cool thing. I don't know about you all, but I think that's pretty neat. Or if you don't want to do it this way and you want it to appear in this one of these, let's say residential, and you want it to appear as a listing and new transaction status, I can then save that template that way. And then it's going to direct me to the task list template screen, where now I'm going to just do this one time. Let's say we're going to go ahead and schedule handyman, and then click on create task. I'm going to add a couple of more. Let's say sign listing agreement. See, but I'm just setting this up now. But when I do a transaction, you don't have to redo this again, because all you got to do is just load that template in, and we'll show you how to load that in just a moment. And then we're going to just say take MLS photos, and then we'll click on create task. So there we have that information appearing. It's automatically updated. And so now you've created your task, your templates, that is, for your task. So now when we create our transaction in a moment, we're going to show you how you're going to be able to bring that in automatically, because we did the auto apply. If you didn't set up the auto apply, then you're going to have to import that in yourself automatically. But if you automatically set it up for either a package or a transaction type status, then you'll see how quickly it's going to work. All right, so this is how we are going to now go in here and create a transaction, because we've done all of the necessary setup. See, once you set this all up, you don't have to worry about doing this again. Again, this only will work if you have the ultimate edition of the Form Simplicity program, which includes the e-sign and unlimited storage. So the way and the easiest way to create a transaction is by clicking on the start a new transaction button right here. And now it's going to ask you to answer questions. That's all you have to do. So obviously there's two required fields that you have to fill in order for you to activate the create transaction button here. So I have an address which I pulled from realtor.com. It is an active listing, but just for our purposes here in our training world, this is going to be an expired listing, okay? But it is an active listing in realtor.com. Since I don't have access to your MLS and expireds, I'm just going to have to do the next best thing. So I pulled up an address, and the address, and I'm going to put this once again in uppercase, 6 Regency Court, and that's going to be in Scotts Bluff, Nebraska, and the zip code is as follows. Then it's asking me to enter in the transaction name. So depending on the naming convention that your brokerage uses, because there are some brokerages that have certain ways that they would like their agents to give a transaction name. Some provide a transaction number for each transaction. Sometimes brokers may ask the agents to go ahead and put the last name of the client along with the transaction name. However, my make-believe broker is boring. He just said, do what you want, Kaz. So, okay, my decision is to use the same as the street address. I'm going to check mark this box and voila, there it is. See, you can tell I'm lazy. So therefore, all I've got to do is just check mark this. And as soon as I enter in the street address and the transaction name, I could click on create transaction. But I'm not going to do that yet because I'm going to go ahead and define what type of property this is, residential. I'm also going to define what type of transaction this is. This is going to be a listing transaction. If you're a buyer's agent, you're going to select purchase. If you're lucky enough to be both the listing agent and the buyer's agent, then you'd be in here as a listing and purchase. And of course, if you're doing leasing as a leasing agent, you're going to select that. Now, at this point in time, I can go ahead and also click on create transaction once again. But why would I want to go ahead and do that if I do that and click on create transaction? What does that mean? I'm going to have to what? Add the forms, add the files while I am in the transaction. Why do I have to do that extra work if I already created the forms packages, or if your brokerage has created the forms packages? Why not? So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and click on this one. This is the one I created earlier. And once I select that, now we can go ahead and click on the create transaction button. Once you do that, it's going to automatically take you to here. And this has automatically created your transaction. Now, what I also want to point out, remember just a few moments earlier, we did a task template. And we said that we wanted to include it in residential, listing, and a new status, because this is a new status and this is a residential listing. Well, look at when I click on the tasks, look at that. They automatically appear right there. See, I don't have to add tasks anymore, or I don't have to load the task template because I already had it auto applied automatically. Okay. All right. Couple of things I want to point out here. One is you have an email address that's automatically generated by Form Simplicity. So therefore, when you do that, this is the email address, which is your transaction email address that you're going to include in any correspondence via email to your clients. In this case, it will be my sellers, or if any of you guys happen to be a buyer's agent and asks me, hey, Kaz, what's a good email address to send my buyer's offer? Hey, guess what I'm going to give you? I'm going to give you the transaction email address, because this way, when you send it directly to this email address that I have my mouse pointed at, it will automatically go down to the file section of that transaction. I don't have to worry about doing anything because you're going to do the work for me. And remember earlier in the session, we did the email notification. When I receive an email message or an attachment, guess what I'm going to look at? It's going to say, Kaz, you got mail. And when I click on that and notice that something came to me, I can actually click on that link and see what it was that came into for that transaction without even running back to my office or home and opening up Form Simplicity to see what it was. I can do it directly from my portable device. This is here making you the true 21st century mobile realtor, because you have everything at your fingertips. You don't have to come back and look at your laptop computer. Another feature, if you needed to add additional forms, guess what? If you click on the Add Blank Forms button, guess where that takes you? And you all know the answer to that. It's going to take you to the Forms library. And guess what? Same screen, just like we showed you when we did the Forms package. All you have to do is locate the form that you want. So let's say we're going to go ahead and, just for our purposes here, let's say we're going to select this one here. And then, or actually even better, how about this one here, inspection addendum? And then click on add to the transaction. So I can always add forms on the fly. Or you can always add forms from the forms packages by opening up a package, selecting one of these, which I am not going to repeat because they're basically the same forms I already got in the transaction. But if you have forms that are in some of these packages that are not in it, then you can basically just click on it, hit add to transaction. And again, you can always upload the file in case you had you did not have it sent directly to the transaction address. You can always go up here, locate that file by browsing for it and then locating it on your computer. A neat feature that we also have in here, and I don't know if you've ever had this in other programs, but we have a feature we can actually upload a photo, and it's not required. You're not required to do it. It's just an option. And the way to do that is by clicking on this camera button. If you click on the camera button, it comes up with an upload property photo window, where now you're going to have to do a couple of things here. But first and foremost, you're going to go ahead and browse for your photos on your device, whether it's on the cloud, on your iPad, or wherever. Also, I want you to note here too, that you can upload these image types up to 4 megabytes in size. What's missing in here is the .gif or the GIF, but that's also acceptable image type here as well. Now, all I have to do here now is locate my picture. So let's say the property on Regency Court looks like this. So I'm going to click on that and click on open, or I can click and just drag it over, and there it is. Okay, so that's what 6 Regency Court over in Scottsbluff, Nebraska looks like. So now what we can go ahead and do is, obviously we need to fit this picture in here. So the way to do that is with this zoom in and zoom out slider. So if you slide it, and of course, I always think about this when I of a dance, you know, like the electric slide. If anybody ever does that, I never did, but that's kind of like what you can do here. If you slide it to the right, it's going to zoom in, and you can see that the picture is larger. Or if you want, you can slide to the left, and there you have it. And so you can see that the top and bottom fits snug, but the left and right is going to get cut off. And that's okay, because that's exactly what I want it to show. If you uploaded it upside down, all you have to do is hit these rotating arrows and then put it the way it needs to look. If you accidentally uploaded the wrong photo because it doesn't look like Mother Goose's house here, then you can go ahead and click on the remove photo button here. But nope, that's exactly what the property looks like. So then I'm going to go ahead and click on the add property photo. And now my photo has been saved, and there you have it. The only people that's going to see this is you. So it doesn't really matter if it gets cut off a little bit. I always thought of this as a jog my memory, Kaz, because sometimes you may not remember what that property looks like. And so therefore that property can be whatever view you want. So if you have a picture of the backyard, of the lake, okay, I know you all don't have oceans out there like we have here in Florida, but the fact is you can make believe that there's an ocean there. I'll leave that up to you. But anyway, that would be something that can help you out as well. Then you have the option, and unfortunately, I don't know if everybody belongs to this board, but the only way you can import is from this board. It's called Scottsbluff County Board. Now, the associations in your area, in your state, have the ability to have imports set up from the MLS, so you can actually import information directly from MLS while you're in the Form Simplicity program. Also, we have, like I know here in Florida, what we have is the ability to pull in tax information. Now, I don't know if you all are members of RPR or partners with RPR. And if you are, then you may want to decide to see if you can get like an RPR tax feed. And that way you can do an MLS search and import from MLS, or you can import using the tax information. here in Florida, we don't use RPR, but we do have a program that pulls in tax information no matter where you are in the state. So this could be a added feature that may be decided at the state level. So I'll leave this all up to you to see if, or maybe individual boards. That could maybe be an option here. But since I have an MLS number to work with, I can go ahead and do that. Click on import MLS data, and here is the data. And then here we have the information. But see, the only problem is that if I'm doing a listing, whose brokerage is going to appear? It's going to appear this one, and we don't want that. And so therefore, that's why it's a good thing to see if maybe there's a way that either the board or association or the state association can maybe get like a tax feed of some kind. And that way it's going to be much easier, because what happens if the property's never been listed in MLS? You're going to have to manually input that information, which to me could be a drawback using the program. That's just me. Because see, we're not just a forms program. We are essentially a forms management program where we do transactions here as well. Okay. So then I have no choice but to input that information like that. And so therefore now, when I go into my listing agreement, guess whose brokerage is going to be there? See, it has the other one, and I don't want that person's to be there, and I've got to erase that agent there because that's not the agent. I'm the one that's got to be in there, so I've got to erase that and then type in my information over that. So it could be a little extra work unnecessarily, I think, to do this. Okay, and then I'm just going to keep her name for now, but because I'm not going to send it to anybody. But here you can actually import just very quickly here, because I'm almost out of time. Oh, I got another 5 more minutes. Okay, good. So I can still chat just a little bit longer. What I want to show you, and what I was talking about, is the import. I want to just show you what I'm talking about very quickly here. And I'm just going to open up one of these. Let's try that again. See how you have the MLS search, and then you can actually do a tax search. So this is a handy tool, because when I was a realtor here in Florida, we basically had both options. And see, I always would do a tax search if I was working on a listing, and then I would do an MLS search if I'm working on a contract. So that, I think, is a really handy tool, and that might be something that the individual boards might want to investigate, or maybe the state association might want to investigate. And then we do have a form simplicity programmer who can assist with setting that up with you all as well, because from our end, there's no charge. Now, whether there's a charge with RPR or somebody else, then I don't know. See, so that might be some investigation that the association as a whole might want to do. The last thing I want to talk about is your transaction participants. Now, I've already added these people in here already. So therefore, actually, I need to go back to my other one. Sorry, wrong account. So therefore, once I go into here, nope, I didn't choose the right one. I apologize. That's the one I just did. There we go. Then the next thing to do is to go ahead and put in your transaction participants. So as we can see here, as a seller's party, I'm going to go ahead and do what? I'm going to go ahead and put in my seller. So let's say the seller's name is going to be, because we don't have that information. So for our purposes here today, we're going to go ahead and put the name of Algorithm, and that's his name. And then his email address is going to be this email address. And then I'm going to go down here. And if you notice, as I type things down here, the names will appear up there. And his wife's name, believe it or not, is very similar to his. Her name is Olga Rhythm. Okay. And then she's going to go ahead and have the same email address as her husband. And then as soon as I put that name in here, so you can see both of their names appear there. Now, of course, the brokerage information shows up because of what was in the form. Remember, we had to redo that form. And then, of course, what's missing here is going to be the broker and then also the agent. Now, the agent came in from MLS. So what do we have to do? I have to take the time now to put my name in here as the broker because I'm a one-man office. And I'm just going to, whoops, I'm almost finished. Let me just finish this section right here. And then my agent is going to be me, once again, since I'm a one-man office. I was just separating the email addresses so we don't use the same one all the way across. Then all you have to do is to click on the Save Seller Information. And this is the third way of adding contacts into Form Simplicity. How many of us know who our future buyers are, who our future sellers are? We don't, right? So this is an option for you to add those contacts right here on the fly. So both Al and Olga are my first time I've met them today. And I am creating information for them right now. So all I have to do, because it says add new contact, well, then I'm going to go ahead and save all of these people because my name's not even in here yet. So then all I'm going to do is click on save 4 contacts. And now all 4 of them have now been added to the Form Simplicity contact section. So I don't have to add them in a second time. You see what I'm saying? Because before we had to add them separately. Now it's going to do it in one quick swoop. Okay, and then once you set this up, notice I have the email address here. And of course, I'm going to change her email address because I meant to put this email address to show you that if you're an eSign user, eSign will allow the same email address to appear and to work in the same inbox. They'll just get 2 separate emails right there. Once you set this up, then all you have to do is select your forms and your files, and then you can go ahead and set up and do your eSign program, where now all you got to do is just create a new session, and I think I'm out of time. But basically, that's how you can do this. And maybe the next time I know I'm scheduled for a second time this year to do a toolkit. Maybe the next go around we can talk about the eSign program and how once you've created the session and the transaction, we can then jump into doing the eSign program. But just to finish this up, when we did that general settings, notice that my email signature automatically appeared from the Form Simplicity general settings panel, and it went directly into here. Okay. Well, I am done. So do we have any questions, I guess, because I know I'm trying to keep this to 1 hour.
Any questions?
I have a question. We sometimes have people who are Form Simplicity members, users in Wyoming, and then they're also users in Nebraska. But now with the new look of Form Simplicity, they only have to log in once and they can see both those libraries. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
That's happy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. And also, before I forget, while we're coming up with questions, I want to go ahead and give you all the promo code if you want to save $20 off the Ultimate Edition. Unfortunately, that promo code is going to be good till the end. Actually, it's you got it good till the end of September, so we're good for another month and a half. The promo code is going to be 20 KAZ, KAZ, summer, SUMMER. And the way to upgrade would be to do the following. I'll just show you how to do that very quickly. And then we're going to say we are done here. We're going to go up here and click on upgrade. It's going to say that you have these two choices, but the $20 will only be applicable to this right over here. So if you want to save $20 right now, click on the buy now button here. You're going to type in the promo code, and then you're going to just type in just like you see it here. And this promo code is good till the end of September for you guys. Okay. So that would be the, well, that's not where I want to put it. There should be a promo code option right over here. And of course, I'm not in correctly, so just bear with me, but you should be able to see a promo code once you put your credit card in. Okay.
Okay.
That's how you would save yourself $20. I have to create the promo code. I forgot one thing before I got online. So if you could give me like about 30 minutes, I will have one set up at that time.
Stephen, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. It might go more into e-sign, so it's okay if you can't get into it. But on the form, the seller property disclosure form,
Yes.
it states in there that there's a full e-sign template that
Yes.
can be used.
Yes.
I always have, I don't know if I'm not really going into it too much, but how exactly okay, how is that?
The way it works is this. First of all, as you know, the seller property disclosure form cannot be completed by you, obviously, right? You know that. So right. The only thing that you have to do is to include that into, unfortunately, I kind of wish I could show you that because that is a pretty cool feature here in Florida as well. But all the customer has to do, and the only person that gets to complete the seller disclosure form is, let's say you have two sellers. So seller one is the only one that's going to complete the seller property disclosure form and then sign the form. And then what seller two will do is just review the seller disclosure form and then sign it, and if there's any initials included. So that's kind of how that works. And so therefore, if you're going to send it in a certain sequence, I would recommend that you send it to one signer at a time in a specific order. So all seller one will do is just click on the actual places that they have to check mark. Now, what I also might want to suggest here too is I also am going to open up this invitation in case there's some brokerages who would like to have customized training. I can also do customized training for individual brokerages as well. And you can just tell me what type of features you would like me to cover in that training. And we can do a webinar like we're doing right now. And that way we can go ahead and do it that way. And then you can just email me at kazc@formsimplicity.com, and we can maybe schedule something with your brokerage.
Stephen, did that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, I think it did. So you're just saying to just make it part of your e-session, your e-signing, and right. When the customer gets it, they will automatically be able to click through it and.
Yep.
Okay.
And in fact, what you may want to do is you may want to send it to yourself, just see how it works, just to practice it. Yeah, I mean,
I'll give it a try. Thank you.
Yeah, give it a shot, because that's what I did. And in fact, when I sold my property a couple of years ago, and my realtor sent me the seller disclosure form, I found it to be very simple. Just click, 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 click. My wife did her thing, and we were happy. Very easy. Of course, you got to read each line item. But you know, and of course, a common question that I always got from customers was, hey, is there a way that I can just click on one time and it fills it all in for me? I says, so you don't want to read the contract. Is that what you're saying? So, you know, you're just forcing them to do that. That's all. But yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, not seeing any.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, Kaz, thank you so much. I don't know about everybody else, but I totally enjoyed it. It was an awesome thing for me to get a watch and see how it works. So
sure, excellent.
Yes,
and then Appreciate that. Well, and then we'll look forward, maybe what we can do at the next one that was, I forgot, we're scheduled, I think, October or November. We'll go ahead and do maybe just plain old e-sign at that point.
Okay.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
All right.
Sounds
And,
good.
and how many people were in attendance, if I may ask?
Well, we
real
had
quick?
6, but now
Oh.
we had 7. Now one of them, now we're down to 6. So.
Okay, but we had 7 about. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, we'll definitely, like I said, we'll open it up to offices who want them as well. So we can do that as well.
Okay. Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Cass. You have a great day.
And you too. Thank you for inviting me. You all have a wonderful rest of the week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Thank you.